One of the biggest books of the last few years has come to the big screen. Let's talk about Where the Crawdads Sing. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film, Where the Crawdads Sing. This is in theaters right now, getting a lot of attention, some of it positive, some of it maybe a little bit negative. We'll talk about all of that as I get into the review and my own personal thoughts on the film. But before we do that, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thanks for finding this video. We just hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, which is very exciting. So would love to have you aboard that as well. So just click that little subscribe button down below there. And don't forget to comment and like this video too. That all helps the channel out. So this book was huge. It came out in 2018. I actually thought it was a little bit older when I first heard about the movie coming out, but indeed it's just from 2018, and in that year, Reese Witherspoon picked it as one of her book club selections for the month. You know, she follows in Oprah's footsteps and has her own book club, and you know, some of those movies some of those books rather, do get turned into movies, and she produces, I guess, all of them if she has them in her book club, and she produced this movie as well. But Delia Owens is the author of the book, and listen to this. In 2019, so the first full year it was on shelves, it outsold every other adult title, fiction and nonfiction, for the whole year. So that's a pretty big deal, you know, to be completely honest. So I knew it was a big book, but I didn't know it was that big. So by the time the movie came out, it had sold 15 million copies. So a lot of people loving this book, a lot of people reading it. And then we get to the movie, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it is a completely lopsided score between critics and audiences. One of the biggest I think I've seen this year. So critically, it has a 34%, but audience-wise, it has a 96%. That is incredible. And something like this, where the book is so beloved, obviously you will have some people sort of saying, oh, well, they didn't do the book justice, and the book was way better than the movie, and sort of panning it from that. But in this case, it doesn't really seem to be hampering the audience's take on this movie. You know, they're just loving it. But usually when there is some sort of discrepancy like this, I fall somewhere in the middle. So between a 34% and 96%, I'd be like somewhere in the, you know, 60s maybe. So that's like a C or a C plus or something. But unfortunately, I am gonna side with the critics on this one, and we'll find out why here in just a moment. But first, a little bit of background, I guess, on what this is all about. So essentially, it is set in the 1950s, and it revolves around this abandoned girl who grows up in North Carolina in a marsh, where the old crawdads do sing. And she is played in the film as an adult by Daisy Edgar Jones, who you might know from a few different things, but she was in, you know, more of like the indie kind of stuff. I know her most recently from this TV show called Under the Banner of Heaven that was very good. But you may recognize her from something else. But she basically gets caught up in this sort of love triangle, and then she ends up being the prime suspect in a murder trial. So some of this story is the romance, some of it is the trial part, some of it is flashbacks from part of the romance stuff. It jumps all over the place in terms of the timeline, and that is one of my problems with it. It never sort of found that footing for me of, you know, transitioning naturally into those flashbacks, or even making complete sense of them, because you know, the two guys I thought looked pretty similar, that she was sort of in the triangle with. So it's like, all right, you know, if she didn't call their name in the scene, I'm like, I don't, which guy is this that we're talking about? And you know, some of those scenes are very dimly lit because they're at night. And, you know, one of my big pet peeves with films lately, things are too dark. I understand if you have a scene in the dark, but I need to see what's going on as the viewer. And in some cases, they didn't quite do that here. But really, it's just the flashbacks in general. It's the whiplash nature of the trial, and then the flashing back, and then flashing to the present, but not in the trial, and that kind of thing. And so that is definitely an issue I had with it. Another issue I had was the very sanitized sort of version and vision of this area. Where the Crawdads Sing. To me, this is, it brings up really sort of deep South kind of, flies all over the place and just, poor, desolate people. And especially if you're saying, that this girl didn't really even have much of a home. She grew up in the marshland. I mean, that to me connotates certain things. And I didn't really see any of that here. It was very, very cleaned up, very sanitized. And then the ending of it, which I won't give away, we don't do spoilers here for new movies, but it just reeked of like a Nicholas Sparks-esque type of ending that completely turned me off. Like, I was into a little bit with the trial stuff, and I could kind of get behind that, and the main prosecutor there, or her lawyer, I should say, is David Strathairn, who, like, he's always good, and he is a commanding presence here. And I do love a courtroom drama when it's done well, but this is not. And Edgar Jones really is kind of elevating this material in my eyes. I thought her and Strathairn, their performances were above what the script was giving us, what the direction was giving us. This was directed, by the way, by Olivia Newman, who I am unfamiliar with, but this is, really what she's kind of best known for. She's only done a couple of really small independent movies, either producing or directing. So this is her first, like, foray into the big time. And for me, it just missed the mark in that regard, too. So I will say, a couple of good performances can go a long way. And I understand, just from the subject matter of the movie and how things sort of unfolded, I understand why the book was such a big hit. I really do. And obviously, a lot of people that bought the book love this movie. That's their 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. But for me, it was a definite miss. I'm going to leave Where the Crawdads Sing with a D+. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time here on Damn Reviews It. Bye.